Guys, we need to have a talk. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and I don't want you to be hoodwinked into wasting money or believing something that's false. So today I'm gonna be busting some hair myths that have been floating around the internet. Let's get into it.
Who are the Mythbusters?
What's up guys, Trav White here. Welcome back to the channel where I make it my mission to give you the best grooming, style, hair content on the internet. And I want to make you the most confident, attractive, badass dude on the planet. If you want that, please smash the like and subscribe button. Also, according to the unwritten YouTube agreement, I'm not allowed to make a video without telling you to smash the like and subscribe button. So anyways, let's get into it. The first myth is that you can speed up hair growth. Healthy hair grows 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch per month on average. And if you're one of the lucky people who has amazing hair genetics and your hair grows 1 inch per month, you're a very rare breed, and we'd like to capture you, bring you in for examination, and see if we can replicate the findings. Because the average growth rate is 1/2 inch to about 3/4 inch if you're lucky. So if you want to know how to hit that threshold, I made a whole other video that goes into the science of speeding up hair growth so you can hit that. I'll leave the link in the description, but the short summary version is if you're not deficient in any of the essential nutrients for hair growth and your lifestyle is also optimized so you're not slowing it down, there's really nothing else you can do to make your hair grow faster besides just be patient. If you guys are seeing headlines like, I grew my hair 1 inch in a week, and you click on it and they're rubbing castor oil on their scalp and they're saying you gotta buy it, or this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, like run away. Like this is clickbait, it's lies, do not believe it. But you do wanna make sure you're doing everything you can to hit that 1/2 inch per month goal. So I just wanted to clear the air on that. You cannot make your hair grow any faster if you're not deficient and your lifestyle is optimized. Just gotta be patient. All right, so myth number 2 is that NoFap or semen retention will make you go bald. And the reason these claims are being made is because when you do something like NoFap or semen retention, your testosterone levels significantly increase, obviously because you're not ejaculating. And when that happens, your DHT levels also increase because it's a byproduct of testosterone. So the belief that's circulating is that too much DHT makes your hair fall out. Okay. This is false. Too much DHT is not what causes hair loss. What makes your hair fall out is the individual's genetic predisposition that your follicles have to DHT. In other words, the cause of male pattern baldness or genetic hair loss is not an overproduction of DHT. It's your follicle's sensitivity to DHT. And this is entirely determined by your genetics. If you have hair follicles that are genetically oversensitive to DHT, then yes, an increase in DHT will speed up that hair loss process, which is why you see some men, for example, who take anabolic steroids and lose their hair. But then there are also steroid users who don't lose their hair. And this is because their hair follicles, by a stroke of luck, aren't genetically predisposed to DHT sensitivity. The only way that something like NoFap could make you go bald is if you're a man who is already predisposed to genetic hair loss. If you're already going to get male pattern baldness at some point in the future, as it would happen anyways, then in that case, an overproduction of DHT could speed up that process. But if you're not a guy who's genetically predisposed to hair loss, then you should be worrying about other causes of hair loss, like not getting enough sleep and not being stressed out all the time, which can cause non-genetic hair loss. You know, NoFap could actually help in that case. So there was a study done in China at the Hangzhou Normal College that showed 27 men who abstained from ejaculating for 7 days had an increase in testosterone by 145, said that right, 0.7%. And the self-reported benefits from the people who participated were better sleep, improved confidence, a happier mood, which are all part of an optimized lifestyle that you need to grow hair faster. So no, NoFap will not make you go bald unless you're genetically predisposed to something like male pattern baldness, but in fact could actually improve your hair growth. Okay, so moving on. The third myth is that split ends stop your hair from growing. This is false, kinda. So the reason that split ends do need to be trimmed is because if you have a split, it can travel all the way up the follicle and reach the root, which causes breakage. breakage. And broken hair obviously doesn't grow. But it's important to know that hair growth happens at the roots, not at the ends. So if your splits are traveling up the roots and breaking off faster than that ½ inch per month of hair growth, then you could see a significant slowdown in growth. So it's not the actual split that halts your hair from growing. It's the breakage of your hair when it's still in that anagen growth phase that slows growth down. So be sure to trim any split ends before they make it all the way up to the root and break off. So a great product that can prevent breakage that I found a really good study on is called Miracle Fruit Seed Oil. And this was a human study that found it significantly improved hair breakage at a much higher rate than argan oil. I'll link to both the study and the product in the description. Myth number 4 is that the hair dryer is evil and you must never use it on your hair because it'll damage your hair and the heat will make you go bald and it'll break your hair. I've seen lots of people say this. To be honest, I sort of believe this to an extent up until recently as well. But I read a super interesting study that has changed my mind. So check this out. In November of 2011, a study was conducted at the Yonsei, I think I'm saying that right, College School of Dermatology in Korea. And they measured hair shaft damage from heat and the drying time of hair dryers. So if you remember how a hair shaft is built, you have the medulla, which determines your hair thickness, the inner layer. Then you have the cortex, which holds all the proteins. It's the middle layer. It also determines your hair color. And then you have the protective cuticle layer. And this study found that as heat increased, damage to the cuticle, the outer layer, also increased. And it also found that as a blow dryer got closer to the scalp, as that distance decreased, damage to the cuticle increased. But surprisingly, there was 0 damage to the cortex, which is that middle layer that holds all the vital proteins. And if there's no damage to the cortex, then there's no breakage really. The cuticle is there to protect the cortex from breaking. But here's where it gets even more interesting, is the study also found that letting your hair air dry actually damaged the cortex, which is the part you want to protect, more than the blow drying did, because wet hair causes the cortex to swell and it pushes your cuticle, the protective scales of the cuticle, outward, leaving your cortex vulnerable. The longer that the cortex stayed swollen, the more protein was lost. Believe it or not, the least damage to your hair was actually found when a blow dryer was used on the lowest heat setting and it's 6 inches away from your hair and constantly moving. So as long as you're not turning up the heat all the way, concentrating it on one area of your hair for too long, then the blow dryer is actually the best way to dry your hair with the least amount of damage. But you gotta be careful because there is that trade-off. You don't wanna get too close, you don't wanna have it too hot, you don't wanna be too far away either. It needs to be about 6 inches away. Your hair will actually receive the least amount of damage from air drying it. So I thought that was a really interesting study that changed my mind about a lot of blow dryer use. So myth number 5 is that what works for one person's hair will work for yours too. So that's a myth, right? So what works for my hair will not necessarily work for yours. Everyone's hair is different and products should be bought and researched and used based on your unique individual hair type. Your hair profile is made up of hair type, hair structure, and hair moisture level. The 4 hair types are straight, wavy, curly, and coily. And then the 3 hair structures are fine, medium, and coarse. And then the moisture levels are dry, normal, and oily. So those all together make up your hair profile. So if I have straight, medium, normal hair and coconut oil makes my hair shiny and nourished and moisturized, that doesn't mean that someone who has coily, coarse, dry hair is going to get the same benefit. They might not. It could have the opposite effect. So understanding your unique hair type is gonna go a really long way in figuring out which products you need to care for your hair the best. So I actually have a bonus myth for you, and I didn't include this one in the original 5 because it doesn't really have to do with hair growth. It has to do with hair color. But the myth is that stress causes your hair to gray prematurely. So this is actually false. And in fact, hair doesn't actually turn different colors when it's in the middle of the anagen, catagen, telogen phases of growth. If it starts growing as one color, it's going to stay that color until the telogen phase finishes and the hair shaft falls out. Then when a new hair grows and takes the place of its previous follicle buddy, it might have less melanin, and this will depend on your age and genetics. But what stress does do is speed up the hair growth phases, pushing your hair into that telogen phase much faster. And this is actually called telogen effluvium, which causes your hair to shed about 3 times faster than a healthy growth cycle. And if your hair is falling out and regenerating and falling out and regenerating more quickly because of stress, then it's possible that the hair that grows in will be gray instead of that original color. But at what age your hair starts to turn gray is largely determined by your genetics. Your hair is not going to turn gray in the middle of its phase if you're stressed out. So that's just another myth that I wanted to bust. Did I change your mind on any of these things? I definitely have my mind changed. Let me know in the comments what you thought, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. All right. What was that Wolf of Wall Street thing? Hee-haw, hee-haw. I don't know why I'm doing that, I'm not singing. No voice cracks, no voice cracks. Jesus mode, engaged. The office painting looks, I stole that from Pam, FYI. So healthy hair grows 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch than its previously